going to write an explicit equation for this one, and this one has some fun stuff going on. So I get f of x, which is the square root of x, and then plug the square root of x into g of x, and g of x is whatever you plug in gets squared and then minus 4. What is the square root of x squared? X minus 4. Perfect. And often on the final exam, they say, can you graph, this happened, graph g of f of x, which is equal to x minus 4, right? And this is where 1, 2, 3, 4, slope. All right. And I lost all marks on this question. They gave me no marks. What did I do wrong? It looks like x minus 4, doesn't it? It is x minus, oh, I didn't label things. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, you got me there. Okay. So I'm going to add 0, minus 4, and 4, comma 0. Now it's labeled, and I'd still lose marks. I'd lose marks because in this one, and they do tell me to do this, state its domain. What is the domain of x minus 4? Everything. But what's the domain of g of f of x? Not everything. X values have to be bigger than or equal to 0. Why? Because of this right here, right? The very first thing has a square root. Are you allowed to square root negatives? No. Even though the square root disappears. Because you square it, right? It goes away. But originally, there was a square root, which wasn't allowed. So on my graph, this whole part here is bad. This is my starting point, and can only be when x is bigger than or equal to 0. Can you see yourself missing that? Yes. Yes. You'd get to x minus 4, and it says graph that, and you're like, no problem. I know how to graph that. Okay? Sometimes they give you hints. Like, on the exam, the one exam, it was like, get the equation. And then part B was, what is the domain? And then you're supposed to write the x bigger than or equal to 0. Then it said graph. After they asked you, like, you just wrote the domain. Make sure you remember to show that on the graph. So this one has a domain restriction, even though it doesn't show up at the final part. You have to check all the way through your equation to make sure there's no non-permissible values. Okay, part B. We have f of g of x. Well, g of x was x squared minus 4. So far, no restrictions, right? And then f of that says what f of x was just the square root of x, so we have to square root x squared minus 4. So either you have to know how to graph this, right? And how do we graph this? We use our chapter 2. We would start 1, 2, 3, 4. Graph our parabola. And then wherever it's 0 and 1, they'll stay the same. Slightly above. This is our graph. Or you could use your grade 11. Does it make sense? You can only square root positive numbers. So to find domain, the x squared minus 4 makes an inequality. It has to be bigger than or equal to 0. And this is what we saw in the very beginning of today. How do I solve this? Well, first of all, I could find out where it's equal to 0, so I change it to an equal sign, and I solve. And I remember when I square root both sides, plus or minus 2. Make a number line, put in -2 and 2, double check, should I include? Yes. So I fill those in. I don't know why. Sometimes I like making the circles, I just find it so calming to color them in. I take extra time. I'm not sure. Okay, so, -2 and 2. If you plugged in 0, would it be good or bad? I choose 0 because usually mental math is easiest. Is -4 bigger than or equal to 0? No, that is false. If you plugged in any number bigger than 2, you could choose 3, 4, 5. Yes, that's true. What about -3, -4, -5? That's true. So our solution for our domain is x is less than or equal to -2, or x is bigger than or equal to 2. Which you could see from our purple graph as well. But if it didn't ask you to graph it, you could solve it this way. All right, questions for practice is the rest of 6, so A, B, and C, we did B already together. So the rest of 6 and number 10.